Hi. Hey, Russ here. Welcome back to my shop. I want to take a minute here and explain to you about my horizontal leg vise. I was talking the last time on the how to build part. I showed you how I built it to that point, and I was mentioning about the top, and I had bench dog holes around it, and that's going to be part of my flat milling for the flat part of a board. And right now, what I have there just doesn't suit me for the pattern for the bench dog holes to do what I want to do. So what I'm doing now is I took another piece, actually two of them. This is 11 by 11 and this is 15 by 15 to fit the My Legacy on the milling table rails. And this fits just nicely snug in between the rails. So when I set this down in there, it's square immediately, and all I have to do is tighten it down. If you want to push it one direction or the other, you can, but I don't even feel it moving when I have it in place. But what I wanted to do is set up an offset bench dog hole system on it. And in order to do that, and I'll explain what that is actually here in a second, but in order to do that, I had to make a grid pattern, and I did this directly on the Legacy. I used a small pointed bit, you can see it here, so that the tip of this, and as I went back and forth, it cut out a little light groove in the grid pattern, and I made it 3/4 of an inch increment in both directions. So I had 3/4 by 3/4 squares. And then what I did is I wanted my holes to be offset. In other words, these holes here that line up, they're 1.5 inches apart. And I go this way, they're 1.5 inches apart. You drop down 3/4 of an inch, and I have now a set of holes here, but they're offset by 3/4 of an inch from this row. So these all line up to each other. So I have this offset going back and forth, and these are exactly at a 45 to these and these. So by doing it on the Legacy, I was able to get that accuracy. And by having the offset bench dogs instead of always just only lined up, you'll see there's an advantage to that, to be able to set your piece on here and be able to control exactly pretty closely where you want to keep it. So after I made the pattern itself, I used my Incra fence system on my Legacy in order to make sure this was all done accurately, and it really helped a lot make this nice and accurate when I did this. And so it didn't come out perfect. I had a couple mistakes here, bloopers. Doesn't matter, it's not going to affect what we're doing here. And I had a blowout up here of one of these holes when I was drilling it out, and those things happen, but it's not going to affect the performance. Since this is really just a prototype, I'm actually going to cut this in half, and it'll be 2 halves, and I'll use this on the same principle that I use the horizontal leg vise part, where I separate them far apart depending upon how long the board is that I'm doing. And then you'll be able to set the board on the both halves and put bench dogs all the way around so that it will hold it exactly in place. And when you lock it down, you can do your milling, unlock it, pull the piece out, and drop another one in, so you can get repeatability and do batch milling if that's what you want to do with the table when I'm done. And it'll be easy to set it up to be able to reconfigure for each piece pretty quickly on this pattern when I'm done. I'll show you how that all works. Once I get these all made and I start to use it on the table, I'll bring you over and I'll show that to you in a couple of days, hopefully, how it works and how to take advantage of these bench dog holes. So that's kind of where I'm at with this right now. I showed you this way because I don't do editing, as you know. All my videos are straight run through. And I wanted to show you some important things about this and what I was doing in the building part. So I thought maybe I'd stop and show this to you, and then the next one you'll see it completed and in use. So the only other thing I want to mention is that after I cut all these grooves in order to do all these holes in here, it's worse than connect the dots. It's just after you get your pattern done and everything, you got to be real careful or you'll mess up, is what I have found. And so what I had to do is I went through here, and every other hole along here I'm putting the center punch in here and punching it so that I know that's where I'm going to drill. and then I used that hole as the guide for my bit when I went to drill the hole, so that I was right on the money where I'm drilling. And that's how I was able to get the accuracy, is that I did the marking on the Legacy, then I did the center punch to make sure that bit will follow that spot. That spot where these two cross each other, the only thing I want to mention is I take my center punch, and what I would do is, if this is where I was going to put a bench dog, that means 2 spots over, I'm putting one here. You got to make sure you do that. Well, to get this exactly in that center point where the two cross each other, if you take and put this down into that groove and slide past where you want to put your hole, you should feel a clunk where it drops down just slightly. If it doesn't, go the other direction and you'll feel it, because the height of this groove and the height of this groove will be just thousandths of an inch off or whatever, and you can feel that click. If you can't, drag it across there a couple of times and then go back the other way and drop, and you will create that difference area so that that will be right exactly in the center of that intersection. And then you just punch it down, and then I put a pencil on there and colored them so I could see them easier, so when I start drilling them, I'll be able to drill them right on the money. And when I get done, I have like 120 holes in this whole thing. There's 60 holes in each half. So that should give me a lot of adjustability on how I hold my piece on my Legacy and be able to put it exactly where I want it, but yet still use my 3/4 inch bench dogs to do the whole thing. So I wanted to show you about this mostly, and let you know how I made this grid pattern and how I set up so that now I can drill these out without going blind trying to drill the right place, because it is not easy to get these all in place and not accidentally be off by one hole. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any comments, just leave them below. I read them all. And don't forget to like this video. It really helps out. Most importantly, though, please come back again, because there's plenty more to come. We'll see you soon.